I know it's been quite a while since I've done a long video, but this is the way I'm going to do it now. I have a little short ones through the week, and then I'll do a long one at the end, and I'll put links and stuff that I need to put in there in the description, and we'll go from there. And I'll have a blog the next week going over what I went through in this video, and it will actually have links to the places where I got information and articles and things like that, so you can look those up to get more information. But anyway, let's get started. I thought I would start with buzzwords that you hear when you are going through some kind of counseling or therapy, and you may not quite know what those words mean, and do they mean anything to you, do they affect you? And I know some of them are going to be very simple, but I have come across several people that don't know these new buzzwords and kind of need an explanation on them, and kind of wonder why this is even applicable to them. So I thought we'd start with that. I'm going to be using my notes here. So let's get started. Let me get stuff set up here. The first one is going to be very, very simple, and it's just going to be the word abuse. Okay, first of all, what does that mean? This is a definition I like to use. It is, hang on one second. It is cruel, violent, and unfair treatment of another person. Now, I know the words cruel and violent sound pretty intense. Cruel can be manipulation. That's cruel. So those kind of things. And you probably think, well, what does that have to do with me? Well, let's look at some of the what we'll call the red flags. That's another term you hear a lot about. And that's just things that might set you off a little bit as being bad. When you see a red flag, you think, oh, I better watch out for this. The warning signs could be they always want to be in control of everything you're doing, who you're with at all times. That's not good. You don't want to be with someone that controls you, and you don't want to be controlling other people. So it's not good. Also, they're looking in your phone and your emails. My Joseph and I, we can get into each other's phones in case something happens to each other, but we would never do that unless the person asked us to. And even then, we would just do what they were asking us to do. So because that's happened at different little times, but we would never even think about doing that, because if we didn't trust each other, we'd probably come to each other and ask each other why. Another big one is they accuse you of being unfaithful. If you're not doing these things for them, then you must be unfaithful. Well, that's not true. Usually the person that's calling another person unfaithful is the one that's unfaithful. That's usually how it works. They put down your friends and family. They are always talking bad about them. They talk about how it's you and them against the world, meaning your family. Other times they make you feel like you don't do anything right. No matter what you do, it's not right. That's another warning sign. Also, going along with talking about your friends and family, they also isolate you from your friends and family. Like I said, it's just you and me against the world. None of that's good. They threaten to hurt or kill themselves if you leave. That's a big one. That's happened a lot to people that are in abusive relationships. They want to get out. That does happen a lot. And also, this one seems like, well, duh, but you'd be surprised. They physically or sexually harm you in some way. Up until about 20 years ago, it was still legal. It wasn't considered rape or anything, or a sexual assault in a marriage if you were married. And that was just 20 years ago. And you got to remember, these people are still living that believes it's okay to do. So keep that in mind. And on those terms, we're going to go through the cycle of abuse. First is that tension. It starts to build up. You're kind of wondering, am I going to do something wrong to make them mad? And it just builds and builds and builds. And usually it's not from anything from you. It's usually from the outside world that's making the tension. It could be a job. It could be other friends that they have. It could be their family. But there's tension that's coming in, and it's bringing it on you. And you're starting to feel it and feel it and feel it, and it goes up and up and up. And then then the actual abuse incident will happen, whether it's speaking to you terribly, whether it is physical, but there will be an incident that happens. And it'll be like, okay, I can't do this anymore. That's what you're thinking. But it also releases that tension. That tension goes down. So then, remember, people choose to abuse people, okay? I don't want to make you think that it's, just because you're tension, that I'm just explaining why it will happen. But they do choose to do that. And then we'll go through the reconciliation part. Sometimes they'll be give you gifts and stuff. A lot of times it doesn't happen. They'll just act like it didn't happen. And you're feeling, okay, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want it to start back up again. And then there'll be the calm, and you'll if you can't talk to that person, which usually you can, but you'll start making up reasons of why it happened. And then the cycle, and this could take months, this could be days, it could be hours even sometimes, but it is a cycle and it will happen again. And the next word I want to go through, and you're hearing this a lot, is gaslighting. And it's a term, and actually they had a movie a long time ago about called Gaslight. And it's a form of psychological abuse in which a person, or it can be a group of people that make you question your own sanity, your own reality, and your own memories, that kind of thing. So keep that in mind. And how can you tell? Okay, this is a big one. They insist you said or you did things or you didn't do things, which you didn't or did do. But they'll be very proud of it, and they'll to say it with their full chest that you did those things, and then you're starting to question yourself. Well, did I? They deny or they scoff at your recollection of events, whatever the events are. They're gonna laugh at you. Sometimes they do laugh at you, or they were like, whatever. And then they'll call you too sensitive. That's a big one. That's done a lot. Or crazy when you express your needs or concerns. And then the next one is they express doubt to others about your feelings, behavior, or state of mind. They're going to get other people involved in this to make you, and then those people will come to you, and then you'll start thinking, well, did this really happen? See how it doesn't happen over a night when they really want to get to you. And then they'll twist or retell the events that are absolutely not true. But by the time they've done all these other things, you're starting to think in the back of your head, well, did that really happen? And then they'll insist they are right and refuse to consider facts or your perception. They're absolutely right. A lot of times you'll hear this, and it's so true, so very, very true. You'll say, oh, look at the nice blue sky. No, it's not. It's not blue. It's purple. Literally, they'll actually argue over the sky. But what they're trying to do is put that defensiveness up there and see if you'll take it. And if you'll take this, you'll take something else. So once again, it's another cycle thing. And also, why do people gaslight? They either want to control you, or they were raised by somebody that did the same thing, so they think this is normal. This is how you do a relationship. So, how do you protect yourself? First of all, you cannot get angry, but you do need to stand firm. You get angry, they'll get defensive. It doesn't matter if you deserve to be angry. It's just telling you that that's what will happen. And then also write things down. If it's not for them, it's for you. Write things down so that you can go back. Okay, I'm not crazy. Okay, I know this happened on this date, and I know it's it's a lot of work, but you're trying to get through something right then. And also, if you're going to stay with somebody that does that, you have to put up boundaries, and you have to stay firm with those boundaries. That's just the way it is. I know it's hard, but if you want to stay with them, that's what you have to do. If you want to stay in that relationship with somebody that does that. The next one, I know what we're doing is trauma recovery. Well, the word trauma, what is that? It's a lasting emotional response that often results from living through a distressing event. It can be more than one time. It can be a series of times, but it's distressing. And it can manifest itself by the emotional distress. You can't think, you have high anxiety, You disassociate. You have hyper arousal, meaning you're always looking to see if something's going to happen, something's going to be wrong. You're looking at every little thing that the other person does. And physically, you can have sleep problems. You can do self-harm. You can have alcohol and drug abuse. Those kind of things. Those can be the result of traumatic events if not treated. And our society doesn't really treat that stuff very well. We're starting to get better at it, but it's still there. Okay, the next one is what do you mean by a toxic relationship? And it's what it is actually two people who don't communicate or relate to one another in healthy ways, and where you have conflicts very easily. So how do you tell? Well, first of all, they offer you no support. So pretty much a one-way relationship. They're jealous or envious of anything that you get or that's good for you. They have controlling behaviors, and they're always feeling judged. So what do? First of all, you got to acknowledge it and decide if you want to keep that relationship or not. And once again, with the whole gaslighting thing, if you do want to keep it, then you have to set up really strict boundaries, and you cannot waver from them. And if you want to end it, let's say you do want to end it, well, it's kind of a good rule of thumb to put a lot of distance between you and them, if you can, and for at least 6 months, don't even speak to them. That's kind of, everybody's different, obviously, but that's kind of a nice rule of thumb. And healing after a toxic relationship. First of all, you got to give yourself grace. Well, a lot of things what we do is we talk to ourselves so badly, and we wonder, well, how did I get in that relationship? What did I do? Sometimes it just happens. And then take care of how you speak to yourself. Okay, that's very important. You cannot be the person that's giving all those bad thoughts to yourself. You've already been through that. Okay, let's go to the better place. And here's one thing that I found is do the things that you love. Because most of the time when you're in a toxic relationship, you've quit doing the things that you love. So get back to those things that you love to do, okay? And the next thing is victim or survivor. Okay, first of all, some people may use the word victim all the time, or they may use survivor all the time. I would listen to them and kind of take cues from them, what they use. For me, if it's a victim, it's usually something that's happened right then. So you could be a victim and a survivor because you could have something new happen. But it's more of what the other person kind of likes. But a victim is usually right then, and a survivor is usually somebody that's either going through trauma recovery or already on the other end of it and is not experiencing any more trauma in this area. So that's kind of how I differentiate those two. So, but always be respectful and ask them if you're not sure. But they usually give you little cues. They'll usually use the words when they're talking about the incident or what's happened to them. How can you support them? First of all, never blame or shame. Second of all, offer specific help. If there's something that you can do specifically that you can do, offer that. And then listen, and listen some more. And also validate them. Tell them that you believe them. Because that's one of the biggest things that a person that's a survivor or still a victim is wondering if somebody's going to believe them. And usually, also sadly in our society, it's usually hard to be believed, especially if you're a woman. So those are the words. I think that's all the words. Oh, and there's also common myths about abuse. It's only physical. Well, that's not true. You can have emotional, sexual, psychological, what else? Verbal, and financial. Financial is a very hard one because it's very hard to get out of. Because you usually have been separated from money. You don't have, unless you have a support team outside, but usually you've already been separated from those people. So, but you believe it or not, if you're in this situation, more than likely, if you just reach out to them, they're ready to help because they didn't think that you wanted them to help before, or they didn't have the means to because you've been separated. But if you can get a hold of them, please do get a hold of them. And also, abuse only happens to a certain type of person. Not true. It's over every type of person, every socioeconomic, everything. So there's no certain type of person. And the last one I want to go over is it was a 50-50 thing. Nope, it's not. I had a really good therapist one time put it like this. If you're walking down the street and someone just punches you in the face, you don't know this person, but they just punched you, or you may know the person. What part of that is your fault? None of it. It just happened. So sometimes it's 0% your fault. Most of the time it's 0% your fault. You don't want somebody abusing you, so you're not going to do things to have somebody abuse you. So it's not a 50-50 thing. So I hope this helps, and like I said, I'll put in the description some links to where you can get help if you need to, and also in the blog I will put down the links of where I got most of my information if you want to do some more study. So go out there and have a great weekend.